Good evening and welcome to the November 9th, 2023 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky,
Here.
Rothman,
Here.
DePlacido,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here.
Brown,
Present.
Weingrod,
Here.
Henry,
Here.
DePone, Carswell,
Here.
Spiegelman,
Here.
Bowl, Schreiber,
Here.
Bowman, Vice President Vehy,
Here.
President Hecker.
Here. Please note that Commissioners Bowl and Bowman are excused this evening. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just two brief announcements before we move on to public comment on agenda items. First, I want to offer my congratulations to all of my fellow commissioners who were reelected on Tuesday and look forward to our continued work together. Second, the next portion of the conditional use hearing for the 1209 Rydell Road application will be taking place on November 29th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium in the Sutherland Building on the campus of Penn State Abington. Thank you. And now we will open it up for public comment on matters that are on the agenda this evening. Is there anyone here in the room who wishes to speak to matters on the agenda? Then come forward. Please state your name for the, yes.
And I see all this traffic information and adjustments with signs and this information all the time. And I just, since the clocks were turned back, noticed that there's at least 8 lights on Old York Road that are missing. They need new bulbs. And that happened over a period of time. The bulbs die, and they need to be replaced. And they're not being replaced, and it's a dangerous road, as you know. Also, I've noticed there's at least 7 lights that were hit by cars on the sidewalk.
Have you reported those with the
Oh, yes,
the
of course
citizen
I
service
do.
request?
And you can't miss it. When there's a car accident, you know this, the light is broken and on the ground. Everyone knows the light needs to be repaired. There's at least 7
Okay.
on Old York Road and 1 on the fairway where there's that wonderful family bike path that's not safe. We need those lights repaired. Big poles are missing. And that's happened over a 3-year period, I would say, because more and more cars are ending up on the sidewalks. And you should not be letting 8 or 9 bulbs die out.
Okay, that's not on the agenda. I'm
No,
giving you
but this
some
is
leeway.
something that's very important, and when you talk about traffic safety, and that's always up, I see with parking regulations and signs, this is something you shouldn't need me to tell you or report. You can't miss it. Big car accidents, whole light pole comes down, you need to replace the light pole. Why would that take so long? Why is that going on all over Old York Road and on Fairway?
You've reported it. It will get fixed. Thank you.
The poles will go back? They're going to put new poles in?
If there's a
Because
pole down where
there's a
there's...
lot.
Okay, Ms. Cabell, you've made your point. Everyone here has heard it. It will be addressed. Thank you. Anyone else in the room wish to comment on matters on the agenda?
Joe Rooney, I live in Maple Avenue. Just a little short thing first. Tomorrow's a Marine Corps birthday, so anybody in the township, if you're a Marine, happy birthday, Marine. I don't know if anybody here,
Okay.
anybody here is. Second one is I forgot my notes on the budget, but I hope there's a good discussion that comes up tonight on the budget. And when you do the discussion, I'll remember what it was I was going to do. And would you mind saying why Mr. Bowman and Mr. Bowl are excused? Because Mr. Bowl wasn't here last meeting either. So
That's a private matter. I'm not going to talk about it in public.
it's
He was
private
excused.
matter?
He's excused. He's not feeling well.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room wish to speak to items on the agenda? And if not, we will move to Zoom.
Ms. Lehman, you're unmuted.
Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. So, again, you have the budget in the middle of the, are you going to hold the budget separately, or are you
So
doing this?
if you would stop the clock, thank you. Ms. Lehman, the budget was made available 25 days ago. There is an email address that has been established to take dedicated questions from residents.
It
I
wouldn't
know that
matter
you,
how many days ago? Let me talk.
no,
okay?
let me just explain to you how we're going to proceed this evening, so and then you will have your full time. I know that you have been in regular contact with both the finance director and the manager, and so you will have 3 minutes this evening to speak to all agenda items, and we will go from there. So if you could reset the clock to 3 minutes, then we will let Ms. Lehman begin her comments.
Including the budget, 3
That is-
minutes, including a 700 to 800 page budget.
That's correct, Ms. Lehman. You've been back and forth with the,
Violation of sunshine law.
well, then file a formal complaint.
I would be filing one every day on you, Mr. Hecker, if I were filing complaints all the time.
File away.
I know, because you know those guys better than I do, right? And we already have one that's in court that is completely in violation, and yet you allow it to stand. It's unbelievable. So, first of all, again, no salaries in the budget, which is outrageous, because we have people like Kim Ham who had no training whatsoever for the job that she had been given in code and zoning and mechanical and electrical and plumbing as director of all those things, and yet you're withholding the view of that salary. We have an engineer director who has no certification. And so we need another agency to do the work that the engineer should do. And yet you're withholding the names and those salaries that go with them. That is outrageous. Okay, so we also, on this agenda, you have gift sidewalks for millionaires. Those sidewalks that you're using HUD money is intended to help people who have less money and have community things that they need that they cannot raise money for because of the incomes. And instead, you use it to enrich wealthy owners. Those are specific properties that you're doing the sidewalks for, private property owners. That is not okay. This is not the first time the township has done that. It is not okay. We had an auditor that completely missed that you had a tax increase in 2020. How can we have an auditor? How can we trust their figures when they're creating a chart that happened to miss a 10% tax increase? And that chart then would carry on year after year after year. We are a mess in this township. The surplus salaries that or funds rather, when you gift yourself a large budget and then underspend that budget, you create your own surplus. And then you've gifted yourself the right to spend that on capital items, which would not be approved by the public if they understood what you were doing. That's not okay. That allows you to inflate the budget improperly and then spend more money than you would need at all.
Please conclude your comments, Ms. Lehman. Your time has expired.
Well, let me please finish these. You know that 3 minutes is not adequate for the whole agenda and the budget. You know that. So please end the time.
I'm going to ask you to conclude your comments, Ms. Lehman. You will have ample opportunity over the next 30 days.
I'm concluding them now. The ever-changing names need to be fixed. The pilot taxes have not been explained. None of that is explained. And the teeny tiny print is done to prevent people from reading
Okay, thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak about matters on the agenda? Seeing none, then we will-
President Hecker,
Oh, Commissioner Bowman, I do see that you're present. Thank you.
I've been here. I had a video problem, but
Oh.
I've been here since the beginning.
So
Thank you.
you are unexcused and you are present.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was told he, I didn't make it up, Mr. Rooney. Mr. Rooney, you're out of order, first of all. And second, I was told, so are you going to stop? Because if not, you're going to be escorted out. Ms. Kubel? Ms. Kubel, I was told that he was not going to be here this evening, and the manager, and like, can we stop making a mountain out of a molehill here and get back to the business of the people, which we were elected to do and re-elected on Tuesday?
Recording in progress.
Mr. Manfredi, do you wish to say something before I move on to the consent agenda? I thought you had raised your hand. No, it's fine. Go ahead. Get this. Okay. Then we're going to move to the consent agenda. For that, I will turn to Board Vice President Matt Vahey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage of the consent agenda listed as items A through C, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The consent agenda carries. We have no unfinished business this evening, and we will move forward with new business, and I will once again turn to Board Vice President Matt Vahey.
The first item of new business is BOC-03110923, motion to adopt the proposed fiscal year 2024 annual budget, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Manager Manfredi, should I turn to you?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Board of Commissioners. As you know, we presented the preliminary budget, and there are a few people that evening that were recognized that we thought it was important for them to present some facts of some things that were new and different in the budget. And even though the budget is very detailed, has budget narratives, I believe it was necessary to highlight some of the changes. And again, with that same thing of striving for perfection and achieving excellence, I thought we would just take a few minutes to highlight some of those areas in the larger departments, the police department, the construction services division, construction services team, engineering team, with the projects that we're working on, to highlight what we do, why the capital items that are funded by excess revenues, which are in compliance with the Government Finance Officers Association's recommendations, are in the budget. And then we'll conclude with the Public Works Department, specifically paving. As you know, one of the many studies that we did was created a pavement management study, so there's actually hierarchical data that talks about what roads we should use, what roads we shouldn't pave. So everything is done for a reason, not just because somebody calls and wants their road fixed, and they're looked at on a regular basis. So with that, we're going to have some very brief presentations, but I do want to address a few things. One, I want to make clear to everyone that the budget as presented to you, and as you have read, I'm sure, does include salary increases. We have not listed, as we started a process of listing every position's salary in the budget. It was never done before. We started that a few years ago. It's currently not in there, and the reason is because we're finalizing negotiations with our Abington Township Police Association, with our per diem union, which represents the vast majority of our employees. So naturally, we're not going to put rates in there when we don't have our contract finalized and we know what those rates and salaries are going to be for the various positions. We anticipate that as those negotiations have been going fairly well, I must say, and I want to thank those from both unions for the negotiating with us in good faith, and I think we're close. But I want you to know that what is in the budget will cover what we anticipate those expenses to be, and then we'll also list all of those salaries. With that, I will move first to call on Chief Malloy, if you would, please. After Chief Malloy, he'll be calling on Deputy Chief Porter, who will be talking a little bit about some of the capital items, and then Mr. Clark talk about the construction services and why some of the things are in the budget.
Yep.
And what we're realizing from that, and then
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, President Hecker, Vice President Behe, members of the board. I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to present a few items that Manager Manfredi and I spoke about earlier today. I wanted to leave that picture up for another 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's a
because
great
that
picture.
Isn't that a great
That's
picture?
really great, yeah.
Again, I don't want to get into the cost of those cars, but it is a beautiful with all the equipment. But before I turn it over to Deputy Chief Porter, I wanted to put this slide up here. Many of you know that there's been different reform movements in law enforcement back after the Ferguson riots and then George Floyd. A number of changes occurred in policing, but back in 2015, when President Obama assembled the best executives in law enforcement across the country, these were the 6 pillars. So my command staff and I, we meet every 2 weeks, and when we make decisions, they're based on these pillars. We try to measure our operations and our management, how we deploy our personnel, what capital expenditures we request through the manager and the finance department based on these things. And they're aligned with the township strategic plan and also with our own strategic plan. And I have this one slide before I turn it over to Deputy Chief Porter. And it's today, after 4 days, we had a retired chief from Georgia who was in. Every 4 years, we have to basically open our doors, our policies and procedures to be examined against the national standards. So we are one of maybe 4 departments in Pennsylvania that has dual accreditation. We've had that since 2003. With the recruitment and retention crisis that exists in law enforcement, we think the best way to combat that is to commit to just the best practices in policing, and we want to align our requests for these capital budget items with these standards. So I'm happy to report that it was a great exit interview today. He did interview members of the NAACP, Pastor Mitchell, members of the HRC, and other stakeholders, including the manager and other staff members. So we're
Congratulations.
really happy about that, and a report will be coming to you in the future, more comprehensive.
Terrific.
So let me turn this over to Deputy Chief Porter.
Good evening, Deputy Chief Porter.
Good evening, President Hecker and Vice President Behe and board members. We just wanted to highlight a few things that you've seen in the capital budget items, some of the larger items that are in there. Axon is certainly one of the largest items in our capital budget, and simply put, Axon is the best product available, bar none out there. We were the leading agency in the region years ago, since 2018, when we decided to embark on that endeavor and approved by the board, and we invested in a 5-year contract with them. Since then, many other companies have gone under, been bought out, and most departments around us are now seeking our input because they're now trying to switch to this same product and finding it very difficult to do so since they weren't on board from the initial onset in this area. One thing about this program, it provides what the public wants: transparency and ease of use. We can share our videos, we can maneuver through different things if we have to do press releases, anything like that. But it's a fully integrated system. And just one example of that is flock cameras, which we have. That's an investigative tool that we use. Not only us, but it's a nationwide system. And Axon is the only camera system that integrates with flock cameras on a national database. So we've tracked cars that have been in Abington Township that are creating crimes in California. Very interesting there. Just to finish up, this is overall a 10-year commitment, a 5-year commitment on the body-worn cameras, 10 on the in-car. And the reason for that is the body-worn cameras every 2 to 2.5 years. This contract includes replacement of the newest and latest technology that they have to offer for body-worn, and for the cars every 5 years. There's a replacement for that. Another one that you'll see listed in our capital budget is a replacement of firearms. Simply put, this is really a risk mitigation feature. And when you see up there it says low frequency, high risk, we don't use our handguns very often, thank goodness, in this job. But when we do, it's very, very high risk. And the upgrades that we're looking to do to the firearms will help mitigate that risk. And that primarily deals with the red dot sites. It's integrated technology that has really excelled in the last 5 years. Many municipalities around us have already transitioned to this technology, and those that haven't are certainly looking to do so. It increases accuracy, increases officers' situational awareness, which overall increases the safety for everybody involved in a critical incident. And one thing that you don't see in the budget is that we will be offsetting what that is funded for with the trade-in allowance that the vendor's providing for those. We just don't know what that exact number is. It's based upon market value, but there will be an offset on that. And last, I'd like to talk about the police motorcycles. As you know, the board approved the police department to purchase 2 motorcycles last year, and with that, we certified 3 officers who recently completed that certification. The motorcycles have only been in service now for about a month and a half, and we've been receiving accolades across the community. Some of the things we've been using them for is traffic safety, being able to get into different areas, patrol different areas, public relations. The officers are more approachable. People are willing to talk. They want to talk. The children want to talk to the officers. Various enforcement activities, visibility, high visibility at that, because the motorcycles gain attention that they don't police vehicles normally don't get. Sometimes police vehicles are seen as white noise. You see them on the road all the time. Motorcycles seem to get the public's attention. And it gives us some flexibility in how we apply our patrol tactics out there. And in this budget, we're requesting to add 1 additional motorcycle and train 1 additional officer. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Porter. Appreciate it. Mr. Clark?
Good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
As you all know, construction services started 2018. We had 7 major projects this year consisting of over 4,000 feet of storm pipe and 37 drainage structures. You see the 12 emergency repairs, which we were able to expedite and get complete. On this year, the equipment you see is only at $18,700. If you compare that to the coming year, 2024, that jumps up to over $200,000. We need to purchase and replace the excavator we currently have as we endeavor to take on larger projects. Pardon? Oh, I didn't know I switched it. I haven't done this in a while. Okay, on to 2024. You see the equipment with the cost in there. The excavator's listed in the budget for $205,000. As I said, we're doing a deeper cuts this coming year, larger pipe, heavier structures, and it gives us much more capability.
So these are projects that have to be completed.
They have to.
Right. And so, and if we did not have this service in-house, next year it would cost the taxpayers an additional $1.6 million.
That's what the projected would be.
Yep.
All the projects we do currently used to go out for bid.
Yep.
So now everything's done in-house.
This is really helpful.
I feel so.
We appreciate it, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jones.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'd like to stand up here and talk about 10 different aspects of our job, but we're going to highlight just the paving portion. This is an exciting time of the year for me, as it's also stressful, but when I start putting numbers together up here that I'm going to show you in a minute, it's an exciting time to see the work that the Public Works Department does. You see, this year in 2023 coming to an end, we paved 28 lane miles, 14 miles of street. The paver did 28 miles worth of roadway. You see the cost estimate of $3 million. If that work were subcontracted out, and I compare with surrounding municipalities, that work would have cost our township around $3 million. When we look at the actual cost, the material of $1.3 million, that was completely funded by in lieu of paving program that the previous director, Ed Michelow and Angelo Pontondolfo, started 10 years ago. And this is just 1 year's worth of the funding, where it's showing that this year we got that $3 million worth of paving done for a little over $400,000, which is our labor and our fuel and our maintenance, with the major part of the cost coming from the program that was started with utility companies. Moving on to next year, as everybody has noticed, the streets for years have been getting dug up, new gas mains, water mains. That work is coming to an end. So the program where we're getting a lot of funding to pave the streets is starting to slow. So for this year, we've asked for capital money to pay for material and to replace our paving machine and our milling machine. Our paver is 20 years old. Our milling machine is well over 20 years old, approaching 25 years old. And by looking at the numbers and what we can do it for, it's still a tremendous value to the township to continue with the paving program and the capital improvement money that we've asked for. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. This is terrific.
As you can see, there's considerable savings in what we're doing in public works and engineering with construction services. That's approaching nearly $3 million. That's one of the ways we keep millage down. We do more with less on a regular basis. They do this on a regular basis. These are just small examples of what's in the capital budget that is being funded by the excess revenue through that policy that was established years ago.
Yep.
And what the police department is doing. All of this is being done again, just to reiterate, no tax increase again this year, no increase in refuse fees, no increase in wastewater. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you. Thank you for the support you give to me in creating this budget, in developing a strategic plan that we can work toward, and to supporting through this budget the work of every department, of every employee. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Manfredi. I'm now going to open it up for, did we get a second on that? I believe we did. Okay. So I'm going to open it up for comments and questions from members of the board. Commissioner Rothman.
I just want to say thank you for having those slides put up today, and for having the department heads speak to us, because I think it really demonstrates in a pretty clear way the ways that we're trying to save money. Obviously, we have growing expenses like everybody else every time anyone goes to the supermarket or whatever it is these days. But if we can do more with less and continue to do that, I think it'll make it a lot easier for all of us during budget time. So let's keep that up. It's pretty awesome to see it up there, and thank you to everybody who was just speaking.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman. Commissioner Schreiber, then Commissioner Zappone.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Deputy Chief, if you don't mind. Thank you. No, I wanted to ask you about the body cams, and so I remember when we got them previously. Is this the same company? And it said it's this, I forget what it was, 5 years on the body cam, 10-year on the car? Do I have
Yes,
it right?
ma'am. Yes, same
Is
company.
are we in the middle of another contract year with that? So in other words, if it's the same company, we already have 3 years and we have like 3 more years and then 10 above that, or?
Oh, great question. Actually, the contract completely expires at the end of this year.
Okay.
So that's why the timing is such, and we're moving forward.
And how many years do we have on that contract? I remember when we did it.
The
that's
first
what
year
I
was 5 years.
It's been 5 years?
It's been 2018
Wow.
about we started. We're dealing with supply and demand issues right now, so we're hoping to get this one implemented a little quicker than the last time. But supply and demand, still, the COVID effects still have some impact on that, but the supply and demand just for this product is quite incredible across the country right now.
And will we have this one in place by the time the other one expires?
Probably not, but at least we'll have the agreement. If it's approved, everything's approved, and It's already been vetted through the solicitor's office, the agreement for this. And once that is agreed upon, the contract will just roll in.
It's the same company?
Yes, ma'am, same
Okay,
company.
so it'll roll over.
Same
Okay,
company, yeah.
thank you.
Commissioner Sapone.
I just want to commend the directors and the heads of the code department, police department, engineering, and public works. What a hell of a job they do. They've always been there for me and Ardsley. I mean, anytime I've called any of them, they're there. It's unbelievable the amount of work that they do, especially the new construction department. That was a no-brainer, okay? I called on Tim, Mike, and also Alfred for crosswalk signs on Tyson Avenue. Now, that project's been done well over a year and a half. They got it done. The signs were not at each of the crosswalks. They got it done. I mean, they are constantly stepping to the plate to get things done. So the residents in this township need to applaud these people. They're amazing. So I just wanted to bring that forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Sapone. We agree. Commissioner DePlacido and then Commissioner Vaughn.
I just wanted to let the township manager know that I am still in support of changing the name of the pavement program to the resurfacing program. A pavement is a place we walk on outside of the street.
Thank you, Commissioner DePlacido. Commissioner Vaughn. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Brown, then Commissioner Vaughn.
I also have a question for Deputy Chief Porter, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, sir.
Maybe we could get him a chair next to the podium.
I know.
Yes, sir.
It's a two-part question, but first, having worked with you guys on Chief Malloy's NAACP Advisory Board, I commend you for adopting and leading in President Obama's 6 pillars of 21st century policing. I know that that's not always popular, but I applaud you for having the courage, you and your brothers and sisters on the police department for adopting those policies. In regards to the body cameras, can you speak a little bit on the body camera policy that you guys have in the department, if you could, for a couple of minutes?
It's a rather lengthy policy. I don't know.
I'm familiar, but I think it would be good for the interest of public confidence just to discuss
Transparency.
that a little bit.
Yes, for those that don't know, it's a quite comprehensive policy. Matter of fact, just this week, 2 departments reached out to us, one in our area and one from a different part of the country, asking for our policy to model it after, based upon probably what this assessor realized today and the information that he passed on. Just to highlight one example is our officers are not permitted to turn their camera off unless there's certain situations, if it's a medical, hospital issue, something like that. One thing that's nice about this technology, and it's adopted into our policy, is these cameras have proximity sensors. So whether or not you want to turn yours on, you do not have a choice. If another officer is in the room and has his body camera on, it turns your car camera and your body cameras on, automatically recording. When you pull your taser, this new technology will automatically activate that. This new technology will have live streaming capabilities built into it if we choose to activate that, should something come up. And that's all touches into the policy. And across the country, there's model policies of best practices and what should be done. But I think ours goes that extra step. And what we require officers to do and not do, as well as documentation in critical incidents, and whether or not they can review the camera to make sure that the incident is properly documented, which is what we want that to happen, things like that. I don't know if there's something specific.
No, thank you very much. That was, I think Chief Malloy may want to address that as well.
Oh, well, I can keep going. I don't want to draw this out, President Hecker. I'm sorry. We require our supervisors to randomly select and review body camera footage every month. Every supervisor is required to do a minimum. Many do more than that. In addition to that, if the chief doesn't mind me, since I'm the one talking for him, I'll mention that we are looking at technology right now that will audit your body camera footage for us automatically without a human intervention, and perhaps bring awareness to us of issues that may be training related and things like that. We actually applied for a grant and was able to fund that. But yeah, the random reviews are very, very helpful. It's not a I gotcha. It's more that we find out as a reminder, maybe we should be doing something better, or even to highlight, which is what we find more often than not, the good work that our officers are doing, and we present that at different meetings when needed.
Thank you very much.
Stay close by, Deputy Chief Porter. Yeah, I didn't, Commissioner Vaughn.
Commissioner Vaughn.
To piggyback off of what Commissioner Brown said, I was going to say, in working with you guys with the Police Chiefs Advisory Board and being able to see the footage, I'm a strong proponent in continuing the contract and having it extended, because when you can watch what's going on and we can discuss the issues that are happening and getting the advisory board's opinion on those things and explaining them to us so that we can better help the community understand them. I just wanted to acknowledge that and ask the same question he was going to ask anyway, for you to explain it to other people who may not have read the policy or had it explained to them before, just to understand the importance of us continuing this contract on for the future.
No, thank you. And I'm not sure if it's available at this time. I believe most of our policies are posted online. And if that one is not available, we can certainly make sure it's up there for the public to look at. We're always open for suggestions and improvements, and we take everybody's input seriously. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to talk to Deputy Chief Porter? I see Commissioner Spiegelman has his hand raised. Don't go too far, Chris.
I'm not gonna make him come back up. I'm gonna mention him, but I'm not making him come back up.
Okay.
Thank you very much, President Hecker. I just want to briefly say that I'm very appreciative of both Commissioner Brown, Reverend Commissioner Brown, and Commissioner Vaughn's comments, and of Deputy Chief Porter's response to Commissioner Brown's comments. It's really extremely helpful. I mean, helpful doesn't begin to describe how important that perspective is. I just wanted to say that I recently had occasion to have to sort of deal with, respond to, and debunk a lot of misinformation and, frankly, misleading nonsense that was presented to me regarding our township, our budget, and where we allocate our resources. So to see those outstanding presentations by Chief Malloy, Deputy Chief Porter, Director Clark, Director Jones, I hope I'm not missing anybody, and I apologize if I am, really is so heartening, because not only is it truthful and factual, but we should be so proud of this budget and everyone who was responsible for it, and proud of the way that we as a municipality are allocating our resources in a people-centric and forward-looking way. So I just want to express once again my gratitude and reiterate what I said last time: best budget I've ever seen in my time as commissioner. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. Are there any other comments or questions before we take a vote? I'll just quickly reiterate the comments that were made here and the comments that I made at the last meeting. Our police department is first rate and second to none. And the work that Mr. Clark and Mr. Jones do in leading their departments, as you see here today, actually saves taxpayer dollars and allows us to stretch those dollars to meet the needs of the community in a much larger way than we otherwise could. I think these programs are fantastic. They're well run. They produce good quality work. The roads that are paved are, I think, to Commissioner Zappone's point earlier, we should be applauding the professional staff that run this township on a day-to-day basis, and I want to give them a round of applause. With that, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Next item of new business and last item of new business is BOC 04110923. Motion to adopt resolution number 23-016, authorizing the township's application for a 2023 local share account grant in order to fund a project for revitalization of sidewalk along a section of State Route 611. Nice move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Manager Manfredi, do you wish to say a few words about this? Or have Ms. Ham do so?
I would like Ms. Ham to do so because this was a project that she initiated, working in conjunction with our engineering services and construction services, and this was born out of a need, frankly. And I think there are those in this room who, when they see the video that has been produced to highlight what exactly is being proposed here, you'll understand it more clearly. Do we have that queued up to run, or Kim, are you going to just talk to it?
I have not seen the final video, so
She was starring in it, but she hasn't seen it yet.
Got it.
Yeah,
So if
I
you
didn't
would-
have final rights of refusal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I can share a copy of the map so that folks can at least see the length of the proposed project.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not able to share. It says host has disabled screen sharing. Right, there we go. All right, so I realize that this is a small map, so I apologize because it is a long length of road, but we are looking to fund sidewalk revitalization along State Route 611, Old York Road, through the local share account statewide grant. This is a grant that is given by the Department of Community and Economic Development from the state of Pennsylvania. That is actually, the funds are taken from gaming revenues, so it is not a tax revenue grant. The great part about this grant, if we are successful in getting it, is that there's no township match required. As you can see on the map that's here, this is about a 2-mile stretch that we are looking to revitalize the sidewalk, curbing, and ramps along from Moreland Road to Susquehanna Road. This project, as Rich mentioned, we developed it together, myself and my team, along with construction services and code enforcement, to put together this package. And as part of our application, the state is requiring us to include a resolution from the board authorizing us to submit the application. State Representatives Sanchez and Genst, who represent Abington Township in the State House of Representatives, along with State Senator Haywood, have all submitted letters of support. They are very much in favor of this. And State Senator Maria Collette, who has her district abuts it to the northern terminus of the project. She is also expected to put in a letter of support for this project as well. And I'm happy to expound or take any questions as the commissioners see fit.
Yeah, are there any questions from commissioners for Ms. Ham? Commissioner Behe, Vice President Behe, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Ham, what's the total dollar value of the grant we're requesting for?
$996,225.
Wow.
I believe there's a certain prominent resident of this township that might also be willing to support. Has anybody reached out to the governor's office?
We have not. It was my understanding, working with our representative from DCED, that because this is a CFA grant, meaning the Committee of Financial Allocation, I apologize, I can't remember what the acronym stands for exactly, that it might not be in our best interest to make that happen. But if that is what you would like, we can certainly look into that.
No, I would take the advice of our representatives. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions for Ms. Ham? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Spiegelman, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, and Commissioner Carswell will be next.
Quick question, then one comment. Director Ham, and I apologize if you said this and I missed it. The timeframe for executing the work, about how long would that, is that proposed to take?
Sure. So I didn't say that, but mostly that's because we don't have a firm timeline. Right now, we are expecting, so the deadline for application is November 30th. So we'll be putting this application in by the end of the month. There is no firm deadline by which we should expect to receive notice on our success in obtaining this grant. However, our contact within DCED has told us that usually they expect the answers to come out in March or April of 2024. So it is a long review process. We would not be able to begin the work until all of our grant paperwork has been finalized. And just knowing the process there, we would expect that paperwork to probably come to us in September of 2024 if we're successful, at which time we would go out for RFP on design. And we would expect construction to start in the spring of 2025 and wrap up by the end of that year.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Director Ham. The following is a very brief indulgence. I do not normally acknowledge ad hominem attacks because I have no respect for them. But earlier there was an ad hominem attack against Director Ham and her qualifications. I just want to point out that this project, this presentation, and a lot of things that happen that nobody sees during the day are yet another example of the fact that Director Ham is qualified to do just about everything, including my job, frankly. And so I want to just express my gratitude for all of your work on this. And I am done.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. Commissioner Carswell.
Thank you. I was actually on the phone with Director Ham earlier today. We were talking about sidewalks, so I think this must be top of mind right now. But I'm just appreciative of this opportunity because working from home since the pandemic, I have seen that much more of local foot traffic. I think a lot more people are also still working from home, and there's a lot of children who also hit the sidewalks, especially along 611, which, you know, given the speed that cars travel, I'm excited that we're going to spend some energy on this space and make it sure it's up to the services of the people who use it. We have a lot of Ward 10 residents who actually cross 611 to get to the train station as well. So just making all of that more walkable and safe, I think, is wonderful. And I'm thrilled that she put the effort through to bring this to us.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. Are there any other further comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Didn't think so. Motion carries.
And that concludes the new business, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President Vehy. I will now turn to matters of the Finance Committee, and for that, we'll turn to Finance Committee Chair, Commissioner Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. First item is FC 01110923, motion to approve the September 2023 expenditures in the amount of $2,297,130.39, and salaries and wages in the amount of $2,262,376.76, and authorizing the proper officials to sign and approve invoices and supporting documentation and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of December 2023, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Brodsky?
Yes.
Rothman?
Yes.
DePlacido?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Weingrad?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
DePone?
Yes.
Carswell?
Yes.
Spiegelman?
Yes.
Bowl? Schreiber?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Vice President Vehy?
Yes.
President Hecker?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Back to you, Commissioner Weingrad.
Thank you. Next item, FC 02110923, motion to adopt the amendment to the 2022 CDBG Annual Action Plan and Resolution Number 23-017, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
And that would conclude the Finance Committee agenda for this evening. Thank you, President Hecker.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. We will now open it up for public comment. And if you wish to speak, please come forward, your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Jones, who does a great job, and the people on the street who collect the trash all the time. They do a great job. And the landscapers who actually do the work do a great job. However, our executives up on the second floor do the opposite of a great job. They do a very poor job, and so does Mr. Clark. Absolutely horrendous. And I want to tell you that I've been working on the 611 corridor that's a little less than 3 miles for over 2.5 years. And I want to tell you what's been happening. For over 2.5 years, I have been working to get commissioners, Mr. Manfredi and Mr. Clark, to enforce commercial codes and maintain the township. This has been a tooth and nail battle because the commissioners and Mr. Manfredi and Mr. Clark, you're not interested in maintaining the township. The little information I've received from Mr. Manfredi's office has been false and purposely misleading. One example with a very long history is the 1500 block of Old York Road. This area has destroyed curbside that goes on for yards and yards right by a bus stop. Now, the Marjoram apartment area is a danger to pedestrians for sure, and there's also people who wait for a bus. Penn State students go there all the time because they're catching a van. The owner was given 1.5 years to make repairs. Next came violations and citations, no fines. A court date was scheduled for the past spring. Mr. Spiegelman and Mr. Manfredi assured me on videotape that this dangerous blighted area would be repaired. Mr. Manfredi gave me his word. The judge ruled in favor of the township. The owner was to make the necessary repairs. They would have been made by now if he followed through. What happened was the owner wanted an appeal. The township withdrew the case. Why? I can't get an answer. If the township had followed through with this enormous area of sidewalk, it would have been repaired months ago. We wouldn't be waiting for 2025. This is a dangerous area of sidewalk that should have been repaired months ago. Instead, Mr. Manfredi decided he wanted to rewrite the ordinance. That was the first thing. He wanted to delay commercial sidewalk repair indefinitely, even though 32,000 or more cars go up and down there. Now, Mr. Manfredi wants to look to find the property owner a grant to fund his repairs. Why? He should have made these already in the spring, after almost 3 years. Why should tax money be used to repair the sidewalks of commercial owners? The judge ruled in favor of the township. The owner was required by the judge to pay for the repairs. Why would you withdraw the case? The same thing here with the dump site at Raymore and Flanagan. I've been told that the judge was not available one day for the case. The judge, Judge Price, is always available all the time. She never just leaves you hanging and coming into an empty courtroom. Then I was told Raymore and Flanagan needed an extension, but actually the judge told me that the township asked for a 60-day extension. Then the township requested another 60-day extension.
Ms.
Why,
Cabello,
oh,
please wrap
why?
up your comments. Your time has
Well, you don't
expired.
give answers. I sent emails, they're not answered. Popeyes, nobody in the neighborhood knew it was being built. You're supposed to give notice.
Ms.
Nobody
Cabello,
knows.
please wrap up your comments.
Why
Your
was
time
the
has
town-
expired.
And Boston Market was closed because of rats, and we have a rat problem at Raymore and Flanagan, and it will get worse. Before you know it, it's going to be
Ms.
like
Cabell,
the city.
please
Rats
take
in
your-
cars.
Your time has expired. Please
When
take
do I
your
get
seat.
an answer?
Ms. Cabell, please take your seat.
See? No answers?
You have had multiple answers.
No!
Please take your seat.
No! I've had multiple stories.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Please come forward.
Joe Rooney from Ardsley once again. Adele, thank you for your work. There are specific ordinances that address this, and it ought to be addressed. I'd like to kind of go back and follow with the deputy chief's questioning from a couple of the commissioners and extend that forward a little bit. So in the beginning of the meeting, a specific question was asked to the president, and the president responded with an answer that he actually didn't know the answer to, or else he knew it and he didn't want to tell the truth. So for face value, people just sat down, and 30 seconds later, we find out that Mr. Bowman's here and he's not sick. So a private
Well,
citizen...
you actually don't know that, Mr. Rooney. He's not here tonight in the room.
I'm talking.
You'll get your time.
So a private citizen sits back down and finds out that the information that citizen was just given was wrong, and he goes, wait, you just told me something else. And after an incredibly short exchange, the gavel's hammered down, and the citizen's threatened to be removed from the meeting. So I want to ask you, Mr. President, what are the rules where if bad information is freely given and somebody objects to it, and then you threaten to have them removed from the meeting? And then the follow-up is, who does the removing? Are you going to put this poor officer on the spot and tell him that a citizen that's asking a legitimate question, you want to have them removed from the meeting? So we've asked the deputy chief about body cameras and how the police are responsible and how everything's going on. I'm asking you all as the commissioners, you give bad information, somebody asks a direct question and asks for a specific answer, and then you threaten to remove them from the meeting. What are the rules that govern that? What's the body camera that addresses that issue?
I don't understand, but this is absurd.
Okay, I'm sure it's absurd. Why are you threatening? Okay.
Because you're disrupting the meeting. And I said if you continue to disrupt the meeting, you would be removed. You can't call out from your chair. When you come up to the podium, that is your time to speak. Calling out from your chair is disrupting the meeting.
Do you have a responsibility to provide accurate information?
Mr. Rooney, there was a miscommunication about Mr. Bowman's presence this evening. And,
You're the president, and you said he was excused.
This is all you have. And, I mean, this is really pathetic.
No,
quite
you're
frankly.
threatening people to remove them. It's good to understand what they did to be removed, and why would you do
I said
that?
if you were to continue to disrupt the meeting from your chair, that you would be removed.
So a minor discussion from there, maybe 10 words is enough to get them threatened, and then you're going to put a police officer on the spot to remove a citizen from the meeting. Is that correct?
Mr. Rooney, please conclude your comments. This is absurd.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Manfredi.
Mr. Rooney, I was going to wait till after the meeting. Let me explain what happened. Two of my staff came to me at 7 o'clock and asked me to make sure that President Hecker was aware that Mr. Bowl would not be at the meeting and that Mr. Bowman would not be present, but he would be online. And that was right as the meeting was beginning. So if there was a miscommunication or misunderstanding, that's all it was. There was no lie being told, or, I don't know. It was that simple. It was that simple.
Why the street should have been... You're not going to answer because you don't know.
All right, we're just going to move on. We have two
Just wanted you to
residents.
understand, it was literally a miscommunication at the beginning of the meeting.
Laura Lehman.
The first things first, Mr. Hecker, restore this.
How would I do that from here? I mean, really, come on. This is... I don't know what happened, but let's move on to the next resident, and we'll restore her connection.
Rossay.
Okay, you just can't make this up.
Oh, no. I just lost Zoom.
You
Recording in
actually
progress.
had no budget presentation.
Ms. Lehman, I'm just going to stop you for a second because we lost your connection and we have not heard anything you've said, so we're going to restart the clock to 3 minutes and allow you to begin again.
Ms. Lehman, can you hear us?
I can, but that's 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
We're
That's
going to
not-
restart the clock to 3. We're just making sure that the connection is sound. So
All right,
if it's
now-
now 3 minutes, have at it.
Now I see it at 3. So, number one, Mr. Hecker, you do not have the right to turn the sound off in the room. Nobody at home can hear the comments being made by the commissioners. Mr. Weingrad responded to my remarks last time. Only the people in the room heard them. Those of us at home did not, because you're cutting off the sound. That's not appropriate.
I'm not cutting off anything, Ms. Lehman.
You are
honestly,
cutting off.
I literally
You
don't know what you're talking about.
When you applaud loudly in the room, we hear nothing. We see only the hands clapping. If you don't know, somebody's turning it off. If Ashley's turning it off, she needs to tell you she's doing that. All of the sound in the room, anybody calling out, anybody clapping, is all turned off at home. And this has been the second or third meeting that that's happened. Third, I think. Okay, so, and again, I shouldn't have to waste my time speaking. You didn't even know that was happening? So now this is off of my time that I have to tell you this is happening?
It's your choice, Ms. Lehman, but please continue.
So it's not my choice. I want things to run properly in this township. You actually just made your comments on the budget after hearing the tiny little snippets of presentations that you got. That is not a budget presentation. I've been around doing this for 17 years, and budget presentations are a very different thing. The public has not had one single solitary budget presentation where we can see where the sewers are, what flooding projects have been done, where the public works money is going. None of that. We can't even find out what you have planned for the EDC budget. None of that. There is no presentation been given. And the tiny little snippets that you were given tonight, you all know were not a budget presentation. They were a presentation of one project within the budget. And I'd love to know where the labor time comes from the construction services team, because those people are already paid. They have salary. And frankly, you're guessing what the bid would be from other companies at $3 million when you haven't gotten a bid. And so you need to get a bid. It's quite possible you could do it for less, but you won't know that unless you bid with other companies.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
And on a level playing field. That's the problem. And that's the problem with the construction services team, because those numbers, would you allow me to go through those numbers with the staff? I would like to go through those numbers, because those numbers, for instance, labor, those people are already paid. Where are their benefits? Are they showing there?
Okay.
The people who are bidding have to pay benefits.
Ms. Lehman, please conclude your comments. Your time has expired.
So I will tell you that literally, Mr. Manfredi said that there's no tax increase. That's because he gave us a 40% tax increase.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Lehman. Your time has expired. Let's move on to the next resident.
Remington Darren, you're unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Awesome. I am from 841 Highland Avenue, been a resident for a year and a half now. I just want to start by, first of all, just my condolences to the friends and family of the cyclist that was recently killed in Jenkintown. His death could have been prevented it could possibly been prevented. I mean, I don't want to put anyone to blame here, but it could have been prevented if we had safe bike infrastructure in Abington. I know Jenkintown's not in Abington, but it could have possibly given them a safe place to bike in the area. Bike lanes without protective barriers are good, but they do not protect me or somebody against somebody that's driving and gets distracted and just veers to the right. Bike sharrows, the things that has been proposed and are in Roslyn. Bike sharrows are not safe because they invite me into the road to be run over by an SUV. There's no protection from cars there. And those are the only two bike infrastructure things we have in Abington. And frankly, bike deaths will continue if we do not implement something, anything in the future. Doylestown Borough is implementing pop-up bike lanes. They're testing it with hay bales and traffic cones. just to see if people use it and to protect cyclists temporarily, just to get something out. I assume that we have a stockpile of traffic cones. Maybe we could put those onto the Susquehanna Avenue bike lane just to try it, just to see if more people bike there. It's just an idea. You could even, if we don't have traffic cones, could get plungers. Those also work. Those are pop-up lane tools that we could use. But yeah, it's phenomenal how we've made a master plan in 2016 and we are now in 2023, about to go into 2024, and not much has changed. So please, for the future and for the current cyclists, please implement something so we don't have somebody killed for just riding a bike. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manfredi, did you wish to comment before we go on to the next resident?
Mr. Darren, we expect most likely December, if not January, for a presentation to be made in the Noble area. It is a project that Commissioner Weingrad has been a part of for some time. Mr. Abel, who has been advocating for this type of project for some time, and we're actually beginning to have meetings to see how we can implement these things. And I don't want to steal Commissioner Weingrad's thunder on this, because he really has been the one working with everyone to take the lead on it. But we are taking steps to implement those types of things, as well as you'll see some of that. It's much more protective, and we're looking primarily in the Fairway area because that was the study area, but that is coming. Did you want to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Manfredi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darren. We'll move on to the last resident.
Ross Day, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ross. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I also, like Remington, I wanted to offer my condolences to Kevin McCreary Jr.'s family and friends. This particularly hit close to home because this is very near where I cross York Road almost daily, and this man was hit, I assume on the way to work in the morning, by what seemed to be a driver who was speeding and distracted. Besides that, I'm happy to see the plan for revitalizing the sidewalks on York Road. I think that's a great step. We 100% do need to improve the pedestrian experience. We've had at least, I believe, 6 or 7 deaths by pedestrians on York Road in about the past 5 years. And what I would encourage and ask our commissioners and staff is, please look into Vision Zero, look into the organization Strong Towns. I think we really need to look at things like improving those crosswalks on York Road, work with PennDOT, however we need to do. But I think we need some serious looks at traffic calming on 611, because it is serving such high throughput to get people in and out of the city and around Abington. And it's at the expense of us residents who live around these areas. And so I just really ask all of you to take a deep look at that and to think about what we can do to really make our streets safer, to traverse by foot, by bike, and also by car, as the dangers just keep getting worse. Philly just had their 10th cyclist killed just this year. And it's a pretty nerve-wracking thing for us with families to be moving around, especially when people seem to be driving more and more aggressively. So I would love if we could do something more to make the streets safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. We appreciate those comments and suggestions. And I believe with that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. We are adjourned.